are here. And Tom, you've written a book, Living with Lung Cancer, and how has it been received by people?
Well, I had my first book signing about mid-October, and of course it was all my friends came out.
Yeah.
And I had the 70 books. We sold out in an hour. Because it's self-published. I'm not published by a big publisher. I'm trying to get there.
Okay.
And anybody out there listening that knows, is in the book business, knows somebody who would like to help represent me.
Well, my dad was still alive. He could help us. You know, he was vice president of American Book Company. Come on.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
I thought you said he was a bookie.
Yeah, he sold school books.
Oh,
Tommy.
yeah.
But you've got to. Do you go out and talk to other people with cancer? Are you a speaker in that respect? Positive. mental
Actually,
attitude?
yeah, that's a good point. That's one of the things I'm trying to do is to get out into the community and speak to whatever group is out there that would like to hear talk about cancer, cancer treatments, cancer research.
Now you've been.
You know,
here.
I write for the Sun.
Yeah, I know.
Sun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have not heard you talk about American Cancer Society.
No, you haven't.
Why not? And I've got to bring this up because, to me, it's an issue that has to be talked about so people know.
Mm-hmm.
American Cancer Society does a lot of great things
Right.
in every community they're in. However,
Right.
there are some cancers they go after harder than others,
Correct.
and lung cancer isn't one
Not
of them.
one of them. No. Well, they have, and I've actually have had discussions with Ralph DeVito, who's the head of the American Cancer Society of Florida Division. They do their Relay for Life, and they raise a lot of money. But not a lot of that money goes to research. And I don't think people generally know that. They raise about $1 billion a year. Last time I looked at their annual report, it was about $1 billion. They have a $2 billion balance sheet, of which about $1 billion was in cash. And I was kind of perturbed. I said, why is there so much cash on the balance sheet? And the answer is they have a very large payroll. They've got $440 million payroll.
Mm-hmm.
They have an executive pay that's, for me,
Way up there.
Substantial,
high. 60-some-odd million dollars for executive pay at the American Cancer Society. And then you go down and you drill down into how much money of the money that's raised is actually going to research. And it's about, I'm going to say 15 cents on the dollar, of which 5 cents is internal research. That's the demographic studies of
the local areas.
Epidemiological. So
Yeah.
anybody that needs cancer statistics, the best place to go is the American Cancer Society. They have the best overall, I would
Stats.
say the NCI and American
Yeah.
Cancer Society. And then 10% of the money that they raise, which is 10 cents on the dollar, goes to external research. So that's funding fundamental cancer research at places like Moffitt and so forth.
Now,
I'm not
the reason I
dissing
bring
the American
I
Cancer
know,
Society.
and the reason I brought that up was because of my feelings about American Cancer Society. When I was raising a lot of funds up in Boston, there was nothing being done for cancer research in kids because kids couldn't give them that much money.
Mm.
And it's only, for every child that has cancers, maybe one or two parents, and they weren't raising that much money.
Right.
And all the leukemia up there, everything else was all cancer-related and everything else. And the kids that had childhood cancer, they established their own fund in the Boston area.
Right.
And you see that in different areas of the country where some local person...
Well, that's why there's all these various cancer groups, like the PanCans for pancreatic cancer, Susan G. Komen for breast cancer.
Right.
And a lot of these other cancer organizations have higher survival rates than lung cancer. So lung cancer doesn't have a voice because people die so quickly.
Right.
And the American Cancer Society's thrust is about smoking cessation, tobacco use.
Right.
And they're right about that in the sense of.
But only 15%.
Well, they're right from the standpoint of if they get people to quit smoking, the incidence of lung cancer and other kinds of cancer is going to be reduced. That's true.
Okay.
The problem is that when you go around and you talk to people, they say, did you smoke? It becomes this, there's a stigma for lung cancer. And I think that the American Cancer Society's anti-tobacco programs have contributed to the stigma, and the stigma is one of the reasons that we can't get funding, federal funding, for lung cancer. In my book, there's a chart that talks about the disparity of funding for cancers. You know,
Yeah.
last week I was diagnosed with melanoma, Clark 1, on my scalp,
Yeah.
and I'm going to have that excised. I looked up the survival rate for melanoma Clark 1. It's 99.9. Okay?
Right.
So then I went and looked at what the funding is for melanoma, federal research funding. It's $110 million.
Really?
And 76,000 people a year are diagnosed with melanoma,
Yeah.
and about 9,000 a year die from it. So when you do the math, it works out to about $12,000 per death in melanoma funding.